Hello and welcome to Miami Game 3 in this four-match international knockout tournament for the Marlboro Cup. It's the playoff for third place between Colombia and the host here, the United States. Both 2-0 losers in their opening games. The United States to Costa Rica, Colombia to Uruguay. All four countries, remember, have qualified for the World Cup finals in Italy. Well, the United States have made 6 changes. Oshman, Ramos, Harks, Goulet and Perez were in the first choice lineup against Costa Rica. The newcomers include a 20-year-old goalkeeper, Casey Keller. Colombia bring in at number 6, Cole, in place of the suspended Perez, who was sent off against Uruguay. The only other alteration is at number 8, where Alexis Garcia is preferred to Restropa. Beautiful conditions with plenty to play for, really. The third place may seem a little bit academic, but every game between now and when the teams really start their World Cup battle in earnest in June, every game has a purpose, and particularly, as we've stressed before in this competition, individuals are playing for places in starting lineups and World Cup glory. Colombia in the red, attacking the goal to the left in the first half. And the United, who didn't play particularly well against Costa Rica, will be looking to give a better account of themselves for their coach, Bob Gansler. The right back for Colombia is Herrera. Here's Cole, Mario Cole, playing in midfield and taken on the burst by the left back, Gomez. Hasn't given a serious problem. Really, both these sides have had problems in finding consistent goal scorers, which was reflected in the way they started in the Marlboro Cup. Colombia's chances in their first game against Uruguay really, as Maturana, their coach, will readily testify, were seriously hampered by the sending off Perez in the first half. And in preparing for World Cups, of course, discipline is a key area. The refereeing is really as strict as you'll ever find it at any level of the game anywhere in the world, when the referees themselves are on show to an international audience. So all the international team managers are cautious about bringing in players with suspect temperaments. Forward by Gomez, but rather given away. The United States, having qualified for the first time for 40 years. Here's Casey Keller, only 20. The tall John Doyle, fair-haired figure, wearing number 3. But for the individuals as well as the team, it's a great showcase. And the United still hoping to really re-establish this game as a major outdoor game in a professional sense, and of course the 1994 World Cup finals will be played here. Ronaldo doing some winning running on the far side, and that might have led to better support play. Armstrong can keep the ball in. Number 7, Tab Ramos, who's had a spell in England with Leeds United and been impressive in their reserve team. One of the players in this squad that got to the Olympic final competition in Seoul in '88. Oh, and the flag has quite rightly stayed down. It is a goal. It's Wijnaldum, who was a substitute against Costa Rica, but this is his first international. And what a start! He was played onside by Mendoza, and clearly the goal totally justified. but I don't think the scorer could believe his luck. 13 the number, certainly not unlucky. Eric Winalda, 1-0 to the United States.
Gol de los Estados Unidos. Gol del número 13.
Well, Colombia, who have played neatly enough through midfield,
Number 13,
really,
Eric Winalda.
as this team have been developing. And Redding, the number 10, is a key man in that respect. But apart from the number 9, Iguaran, they don't seem to have a great deal of single-mindedness in their scoring approach. And now they're a goal down. The United States at home here in Miami. Col. Never doubt the Colombians' technique, particularly when Redding is on the ball, and he was taken down. So Bob Gansler with a goal in his team's locker. Colombia trying to hit back. This is no strange setting for them. They've played here in tournaments in the last couple of years. There's a lot of natural support for them in the area. Maybe even more support in the Hispanic sense than there is for the United States. Peter Ronaldo through the middle again. Long clearance from Keller. Well, the ground really still buzzing. Ramos has kicked the ball away after the United States have conceded a free kick, and that is the sort of thing that gets punished in World Cups with yellow cards. The United States have beaten Colombia once before. That was back in 1984. 1-0 was the score then in Los Angeles. More recently, a couple of defeats in Miami in 89 and 88. Always low-scoring affairs, though. Maybe this will change that pattern. John Stolmeyer a little too competitive there. Rather panicking at the sight of Iguaran in possession, but he was well away from his target. Nevertheless, it's a free kick, rather unnecessarily conceded by Stolmeyer. To be taken by Gomez. Herrera with the throw. Colombia trying to settle down now, having given away a very bad goal from their point of view. When 9/10 of the defence was prepared to play offside, but there was a missing jigsaw. Referee Tony Evangelista is making sure that Meses, Perez and Ramos are back the required distance. Put behind, but tall number 7, Freddie Rincon, poised to make his move from around the edge of the area. A lot of concentration on the United States bench. It's a long time to hold on to a lead, having scored after 3 minutes. Mendoza's long ball. The defending done for the United States by Armstrong, as he was fouled, I think. A number of these players for the United States have come through their youth teams. They've been able to some extent to keep the squads together and hope that the promise at youth level will be fulfilled finally in the full international arena. And there's no doubting the praise that Gansler deserves for getting a team to qualify with that win against the odds in Trinidad, when it seemed that Trinidad only had to turn up and play the game to get their own spot in the finals. They were rather complacent. The one thing you do always get from a United States team, whatever the game, is a full level of competitiveness. They'll hustle and they'll harass. They'll worry too when players like Garcia launch themselves into shots like that. Here's Rincon. Oh, and he was fouled off the ball as Redding looked for the return pass. And this is in a position really to threaten the lead that the United States hold with the goal from Eric Winalda. An amazing start to his international career. What can Colombia come up with? It's going to be taken by Herrera. Well, there was nothing too cleverly hidden from the United States defenders. A straightforward ball in. Not too much deception at the free kick. Taken by the right back, Luis Fernando Herrera.
Mundial Sport Group agradece a Budweiser por su importante trabajo patrocinador de la Copa Marlboro de Miami.
There's a lot of height at the back for the American team. At the moment they use it to pretty good effect.
Thank Budweiser for its very important work as a supporting sponsor of the 1990 Marlboro Cup of Men.
Gomez holding off Ramos. The intercepting there by Armstrong. But Colombia starting to exert more control in midfield. And they really are the senior side in terms of international experience. But they're finding at the moment that when the ball gets up to the willing Winalda, his rangy style, full of running, is giving them problems. Ramos. Oh, the shot was on, and it was something of a problem for Higuita. Both these sides really finding it hard to conform to the usual patterns in terms of how their players are involved in club football. Colombian League suspended at the moment because of the major political problems in their country. There might be some problems on the field here with some stern challenges. Yes, it's Rincon who's properly being singled out as the culprit then. The United States players coming from far and wide, and very few involved in conventional club football. It's offside this time. But now in a squad that they hope will breed the right sort of togetherness. Sometimes teams can spend too much time in camp. Keller with a risky throw, and here is a chance for Rincon, and the goalkeeper made up for it. Casey Keller betrayed his inexperience then, and Rincon was first to it. It was a good chance, but the big number 7 didn't really make up his mind what he was going to do until it was far too late. Fajardo. Now they've got an extra man this time. That was nicely played by Perez. Tall figure next to the substitute goalkeeper there, Alberto Uzuriaga, player who got the goal against Israel for Colombia. Playoff for the remaining place. But he was a late arrival for this tournament and only played as a substitute in the first game. Look at Wijnaldum, it really is he's effervescent up front, and it's giving the United States a little bit more in that department. In addition to the goal, which could be absolutely priceless in terms of this tournament. The free man is Goulet this time. Brent Goulet, who's played as a full-time professional in England. The shot was fire, and it troubled Higuita, and Colombia looking rattled at the moment. Wijnaldum going in rather clumsily that time. Perez. Well, the fall was theatrical, and the referee ruled against him, possibly because of that. There might even have been contact, but it was very much resembling a dive, the way that Hugo Perez hit the ground, and he's still arguing the referee, who stopped the game now because of offside. Rincon. Gomez. It's the South American short passing game that Colombia like to purvey. Some lovely little touches. Clever triangular pattern put together here. But it's the end product that's lacking. Given away by Cole. The player who was sent off against Uruguay, Perez, has done a very steady job as the anchor man in midfield, so it'll be interesting to see whether Colombia have a natural replacement for that. Perez will surely, disciplinary factors notwithstanding, be in the starting lineup for the World Cup games. This is Garcia, nicely left by Redin. Goes Wijnaldum again. Oh, and shoved aside by Gomez. Well, if you've just joined us, it's 1-0 already for the United States. A goal after 3 minutes from Eric Wijnaldum. So far, the match going really against expected form. Well, they're in the air concerned about the ball. And although it was another theatrical fall by Perez, who was definitely a foul that time.
Adidas y su importante función por hacer de este torneo un éxito este año. Gracias a todos los integrantes de
The
Adidas.
Hispanic nature of this tournament, emphasised by the fact that the public address announcement given in both Spanish and English.
This year's tournament a success. Adidas is the official ball of the Marlboro Cup.
Doyle losing out.
Thank you to everyone at Adidas.
Colombia had really pushed up that time. Well, I wonder whether Higuita will rein in his own contribution, the goalkeeper who plays often in midfield, but was caught out a couple of times against Uruguay. And indeed, in looking at other matches involving Colombia, Higuita is a risk, a security risk for them at the back. He is capable of brilliance as well. Parks. Perez. Ronaldo flicked it on. Good running again from Ramos. There's no doubting the athleticism of the Americans. It's just how refined their technique is at this rarefied level of the game.
Look out!
Colombia again failing to make progress when they had good possession approaching the edge of the American area. Windishman's gone up ahead of Wijnaldum. Well, that was perhaps asking a little too much, but he's in such a buoyant mood at the moment that he's trying everything. Given away by Goulet. By Hawks. Just in front of Keller, Balboa acting as the sweeper for the Americans. Ramos. Wide by Wijnaldum. In first time by Armstrong, and Colombia really should have dealt with that more decisively. Rincon. Garcia. Goal. It's not the sort of strategy really the Americans are putting together that Colombia are going to find easy to break down. From Doyle. The Americans showed in their qualifying games that they can be pretty resolute defensively. But they're in danger of being opened up here, and the goalkeeper came very bravely out, and quickly too, to stop Iguaran sneaking in with another goal for Colombia, as he has done regularly throughout his career. Well, now was taking plenty of time and presumably too many steps, and this again has shown that his know-how and really his lack of know-how and streetwise attitude to a match of this importance, this could be very costly. Gansler realizes that. A free kick to Colombia. Indirect, of course, inside penalty area here. Conceded most unnecessarily by the goalkeeper. What can Colombia make of this? It's a great opportunity for them. Keller trying to see through the wall, which they had a thought about splitting the wall. Now the cards being brandished, and it could well be Wijnaldum who was on the receiving end there. It looked as though the Americans were going to split the wall and let the goalkeeper see it through the centre. I don't think they're quite sure exactly where it should be. It doesn't look very tight. The Colombians waiting, It's deflected and it's a goal. 1-1. Fayado was organising and orchestrating, and it was just rolled to him, and it ended up past the unfortunate Keller, and we'll see perhaps here the true path. It was certainly deflected, I was sure of that, but it'll go down as a goal for Fajardo, and some relief here, and real frustration for the Americans because, well, the free kick should never have been conceded. And the worst part of it, really, apart from the time Keller threw the ball out unwisely and Rincon gave the United States a real scare, there has been very little to suggest that the lead would not be held. And he's a big man, John Doyle, and he takes some putting down and staying down. But that was coming from behind, caught him really off guard from Iguaran. So it's all going wrong for the Americans at the moment. Rob Gansler, who brought in Casey Keller to take over from Tony Mayola, who didn't play very well in truth against Costa Rica. Well, young goalkeepers can only learn by playing, and they will make mistakes. And Keller, who's shown some courage in his work, particularly coming off his line, will be better, I suppose, for the experience, although at this moment he's wishing that that free kick awarded against him. 1-1. Remember, they're playing here for third place in this international four-nation tournament, which has been put together here for the Marlboro Cup with the World Cup preparations very much in mind. So there's genuine international significance about what you're seeing. And knowledgeable viewers, as we know that you are, you'll be ahead of the game, really, when it comes to looking at the World Cup. And teams that otherwise you might not have been able to see. Played back by Gomez. There is still some concern about whether Colombia will actually be able to take their place in Italy. From my sources, I'm assured, obviously, that the players are very, very keen to participate. If it was a straightforward football matter, there would be no doubts. Let's hope it stays that way, and they are there. A shot from Rincon, though. Not really of World Cup standard. (1-1) and Colombia, I would think, psychologically in the ascendant moment. They've been able to regain the ground they lost early in the half. Plenty of distance to Keller's kick, but not a lot of accuracy.
Ustedes pueden ganarse un viaje a la Copa del Mundo de Italia este verano que viene. Marlboro está sorteando 5 viajes para 2 a la Copa del Mundo. Todo lo que
This is the clever Perez, touched off by Harks. Windishman, the captain, with a cross that doesn't really trouble Higuita.
El primer premio que será sorteado consiste en 10 viajes para 2. Todos los gastos pagados
Mendoza.
a la Copa Marlboro de Nueva York en agosto.
Gomez and Ramos quickly on the scene. The back pass was on, but the United States pressing in then and trying to win the ball in the Colombian half, and always a chance of doing that, or let's say the Colombians will always give opponents a chance because the way they like to build from the back. And in very warm climates, it's a better way, really, I suppose, of keeping possession rather than hitting longer passes and wearing out the front players. There are definitely two styles here. The Americans are more functional in their football, and the Colombians trying to pass the ball cleverly and work their way the length of the field to try to get their noses in front. In this splendid setting, the Orange Bowl. No, we can't say that this is American football, can we? The expression now means something else, but you're seeing America. And all lovers and devotees of this particular code will hope that the next few years will give this brand of the game its proper place, really, in this huge country, where there is a certain amount of resentment, I think, amongst a lot of the community. They feel that maybe their traditional sports are threatened by what is genuinely a world game. But surely there's a place for American football, baseball, and our football. The United States breaking. Good work by Ramos. But sticking to his task was Pereira, who was particularly impressive against Uruguay. Quick and determined defender. Ramos, though, had plenty of determination of his own. Hark's wondering whether he's going to work the short corner to him, but instead it goes to Perez. That might yet be a pass, and it's one that's wrong-footed, the Colombians. Headed by Herrera. And Herrera in the right place again. Winalda, and well, it was a reasonable opening, produced really out of persistence by the United States. The shooting chance wasn't an easy one, though, for Goulet. Sent upfield by Mendoza. Colombia lacking the charismatic Carlos Valderrama, who plays in Europe. Certainly be a key man in their midfield. Down goes Brent Goulet.
Tarjeta amarilla para el número 6 de la selección de Colombia.
The yellow card was for Mario Col, and again no complaints really. The referee right on the spot, and Goulet, who's quite a crafty customer. The 6 certainly isn't Ricardo Perez. He's suspended. Maybe that hasn't reached the graphics department of our television coverage here. Well, it was an offside given, although Pereira was quick enough to make sure that there was going to be no problem if the flag had stayed down. In these 14 tournaments, the third place is often something of a dead rubber, but it's providing plenty of entertainment here.
On you go, don't cheat.
And Colombia trying to tilt the balance of power their way before half-time. They've got a free kick.
Watch outside the
Something
wall!
else for Bob Gansler, who was actually born in Hungary, to make a note of, to talk to his troops about during the break. Garcia initially had a look to see what was on. He's now gone away. Oh, it was a thumping effort by Rincon that didn't get too far to trouble the Americans. So 1-1. Eric Winalda after 3 minutes for the United States, and then another of the youngsters in the United States line up, the goalkeeper Casey Keller, penalised in his own penalty area, an indirect free kick which eventually was driven in via a deflection by Alfonso Fajardo. It's a long throw from Stolmeyer. He really does get terrific distance into it. Windishman. Headed on by Rincon and beaten to it by Doyle.
No turn, no turn.
Well, that was backing in then, and it's often when a shorter player is dealt with by a tall defender, it can look difficult for the referee to work out, but I'm sure that was the right decision.
Todo lo que tienen que hacer es llenar el botón de participación disponible en los
Keller certainly getting terrific distance to his clearances. Here's Herrera. Arks lets it run. It's easy for Armstrong to deal with. Here's Winalda, just shoved at the right moment by Gomez, and in a way that he got a... But the United States not to be denied. Here's Harks. It's all a little tight at the moment from both sides, and neither making any real progress. And then the offside trap is set, and the United States fall into it. The USA were finalists in the first World Cup. There was no qualifying tournament then, of course. In 19, and they won their first two games against Belgium and Paraguay, both times 3-0. Suggests that they may have a major role to play in the tournament as it really spread the gospel around the world. They qualified in 34 as well, or took part, shall I say. And then again in 1950, where the most famous American win of all time took place. They beat England 1-0, and the Brazilian Belo Horizonte. Still astounds those survivors who've actually played in the game. Goal from Gaetjens, commemorated in the history of United States football. He was the striker that day, and it's the striker today, Eric Winalda, who's going to get some media attention anyway, having put the United States in front against Colombia. It's not turned out to be a winning goal, and he's still got time. Gomez with the throw. And the foul by Armstrong. So Colombia have a free kick. Their supporters sense the potential of this situation. It's played short to Garcia. And Gomez, who's a left-back with a real sense of adventure, was pressed as he tried to play in the cross. And it's another massive clearance upfield by Keller. It's been a first half really of relatively few chances. Pereira has been strong at the back for Colombia, and Marcelo Balboa, who's the son of a former professional player in Argentina, is holding the key really in the centre of the Americans' defence. Rincon. Easily dealt with by Doyle. Doyle using something from the realms of ice hockey, really, and that provoked the retaliation. Iguaran felt he was fouled a little earlier by Doyle, and Perez was then clattered down by Arnaldo Iguaran. Lugo Perez, who's been around a long time now in terms of the United States international setup. Been playing in France. Well, we just got a look there at Bruce Murray, the number 16, who's ready to come on if required. This is Goulet shooting. Brent Goulet has worked just as hard as Wijnaldum up front. That's Jimmy Banks, who's also perhaps preparing for action in the second half. Easy to pick out with the ponytail. After this, the United States go off to play a game in Bermuda, which will count as a full international as well. Don't think that will be quite as testing for them as playing against Colombia. Whilst obviously the South American countries with the real tradition of trophy winning, like Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay, but particularly over the last 10 years have developed the football to such an extent that they're very competitive. And obviously their club football has been successful in that respect as well, with Nacional of Medellin reaching the final of the World Club Championship as South American champions, and losing to the great Milan. Well, Perez isn't going to finish the first half. Bruce Murray, who can play in midfield or up front. Is being called on. Perez, who was sent flying by Iguaran and really put out of the game in that respect.
Substitution, the United States. Coming out, number
So a free kick to the United States with half-time beckoning.
16, Bruce Murray.
It'll be a good time to poach another goal and really rattle the Colombians, who come back into things reasonably comfortably, having been presented with the equaliser. Perez, not too seriously damaged that he's gone straight to the treatment table. Just the feeling that both sides have held a little bit in reserve. Their second game in 3 days, but they both scored. 1-1 it is at half-time, after Winalda had given the United States a quick, and then Fajardo equalised. Join us for the second half.
That's the end of the first half with the score. Colombia 1, United States 1.
Welcome back to the Orange Bowl in Miami, where the United States and Colombia are drawing 1 goal each in this match for 3rd place in the Marlboro Cup. Colombia have made a change. As you can see, Rincon is the player replaced by Guerrero. And just looking around to see whether the United States, who had Jimmy Banks warming up. Indeed, Banks, wearing number 4. It's as though he's on the far side there. If it stays this way, we would go to a penalty shootout. And I'm sure the crowd here would enjoy the drama of that, but from the perspective of both sides, an outright win, having lost their opening game, would just make this Marlboro Cup more meaningful for them.
Ingresó en su reemplazo el número 15, Miguel Guerrero.
Back from Windishman, who did particularly well in the Olympics in Seoul, scored a great goal against Argentina.
Accommodating number 50, Miguel Guerrero.
Well, Colombia certainly not lacking support here. Confirmation of the substitution made by the United States. Their second. Remember that Hugo Perez went off just before half-time. There could be a second in terms of a goal arriving, but the first touch was not quite as sharp by Goulet as some of his work in the first half.
Coming in, number 4, Jimmy Banks.
And there's Banks with that distinctive hairline, working the ball back to Balboa. Colombia, who arrived to the World Cup by coming through a group with Ecuador and Paraguay. Certainly Paraguay were reasonably well fancied. They'd qualified in '86. And then in winning the group, they still had to clear another hurdle in the shape of Israel, home and away, the Oceania champions. Well, Bob Gansler, who's finding it often the way with the coaches in American sport, but he looked pretty relaxed and happy then a moment or two ago. Anyone running the team at an international level of the United States does have this problem, as I mentioned in the first half, of not really having the right sort of education in terms of match play for his players. The indoor game really doesn't bear a great deal of resemblance to the demands of 11-a-side outdoor football, where players are coming on and going off often at 2-minute bursts. It is very sad. Anybody who studied the way the professional game went here in the 70s, there was the great high times when Pelé came and a number of notable internationals, Franz Beckenbauer, players of that calibre, and in the end the business side of it didn't really work out. And when players leave college in the United States, it's very hard for them to earn a living playing outdoor football. Bob Gansler, who's certainly amongst the aficionados in this country, is very much a hero after that 40-year absence. The USA back in the World Cup finals and guaranteed, of course, of their place in 1994 as the host nation. Here's Wijnaldum, who'll still be young enough to be around then, I'm sure. Fajardo, who scored the equaliser for Colombia. Led on by Redin to the left-back Gomez. Redin again. He is a very talented individual. And again, when other players may have chosen to try a shot from the edge of the area, Colombia taking what turned out to be one pass too many. Played back by Banks. The sun getting lower in the sky and at the moment giving Casey Keller potentially a problem. That's good work by Goulet. The offside flag quite right against Bruce Murray, the player who came on for Perez just before half-time. Garcia. Well, that's a wasted one, and it's almost as if Colombia don't really approve of a teammate playing a long pass. They just love to manipulate the ball and work in close harmony. It's a great exercise. It makes you feel that if goals didn't have to be scored, they'll come close to being world champions. Windishman penalised, but the joy of the World Cup and the whole international nature of football is how there can be so many different styles in the continual quest for success. And Colombia, like a lot of South American teams, can be very spectacular at free kicks. And that's the substitute, Guerrero. So still 1-1. The final of this competition, the Marlboro Cup, which will as well, between Uruguay and Costa Rica.
As a supporting sponsor of the 1990 Marlboro Cup of Miami.
Oh, and well, we've been a bit disappointed in the first half that Higuita hadn't offered us too many of his party pieces outside the penalty area. There was absolutely no need at all for him to be in that position. It's almost as if he gets bored. Stolmeyer. A little bit of the zip has gone out of Wijnaldum. Partly, I think, because Colombia, who might have known too much about him, have begun to work out his strengths and weaknesses. Still 1-1 and the penalty shootout possibility. Well, it's still but a possibility, but with every passing minute it becomes more of a probability. Herrera. Stolmeyer. He rarely wastes a pass. He's certainly of a very high calibre. He and Valderrama together in the centre of Colombia's midfield. They give him a lovely artistic feel. Marlboro had to come out of his role as the free man at the back then to deal with the danger. Widdishman. And again. All left foot. Goulet, who's worked the full width of the pitch really to make himself available. This is more promising for Colombia. That was an authentic save by Keller, who got down very well with his left hand. All the, as they're pushing there by Wijnaldum, I think all the goal scorers will tell you that it's the low shots that are the ones that bring success. Higuaín subscribing to that philosophy and very nearly finding a way through, but Keller stopped him. Pereira. Cole. Guerrero. Cole again. They certainly put the passes together this time until Balboa came across again and recognised that there was danger looming. It was unfortunate for the Americans, but they still go on. Mendoza steps in the nick of time. Here he is again, Alexis Mendoza. A little arrogant flick with the outside of the foot. Guerrero. The tall Doyle got to it. And it's the Americans' turn to think about a counter-attack with Ramos. Going round the outside beautifully, deceived Gomez then, draw Mendoza out of the middle. Cole came away with the ball. There was a change of pace then that unsettled Colombia from Tab Ramos. Every now and then the Americans find an extra gear. Bob Gansler applauding then. For the most part, you'd describe their play really as workmen. They're very fit, very committed to the cause. But they will always find lack of real international pedigree a handicap. Doyle. But Colombia going through a spell where they're not passing the ball quite as well as they were earlier in the game. Here's Banks. Long from Balboa to the head of Wijnaldum. 15 minutes gone in the second half, and no change in terms of the scoreline than what we had at half-time. 1-1. Looking very fresh. Very much wanting to be the centre of attention. He's still on the ball. Herrera. Well, I wonder just how fit the Colombians are because of their league season having been totally disrupted, playing their second game here in quick succession, and they had another warm-up game when they arrived in the United States, so the other factor involved in that is that they haven't changed the team too much, whereas with the Americans here, half of the side in the first game. So there shouldn't be too much chance of them fading over the latter stages of the game.
Thank you to everyone.
One or two of them might be beginning to wonder whether they'll be called upon to take a penalty. Windishman. Here's Ronaldo. He can make a penalty shootout academic, and it was a clever attempt to chip ee.uu, but he just saw it coming in time. More urgency about Colombia here. Gomez. Nicoran's gone close to the ball, and Guerrero unable to force a way through the centre. Cole. Balboa drawn across this time, away by solidly too. Ronaldo wasn't really in control of that layoff. The ball bouncing away from him. And Colombia pressing the United States back, trying to get in front for the first time. But Garcia didn't get the full meat behind that effort. Bruce Murray.
Tarjeta amarilla para el número 15 de la selección de Colombia.
Well, Guerrero joins the list of players who've been cautioned. But again, I think it was his sheer anxiety to try and get himself involved in the game, having come on at the start of the second half. Now he's got to be a little bit more cautious. Just thinking that Colombia Perez in the game against Uruguay, through 2 offences in quick succession, both worthy of a yellow card, which equalled the red. That's kept him out of this game and really ended effectively Colombia's chance of winning this tournament. Mike Windishman. That's given away that time by Murray. Colombia might be able to capitalise from that. No chances taken at the back by the United States. As Eichmann shows signs of being called on. In fact, he just got the summons then, and now the instructions. So Eric Eichmann looks as though he's going to be the 3rd substitute for the United States, with Murray and Banks already on. The corner though to Colombia. That's Keller's ball, and Bob Gansler not falling into the trap that does happen at the highest level of the game sometimes, of making a substitution when your team is defending at a corner. Oh, look at this. Talking of falling into traps. ee.uu hadn't seen too much of the ball for a while, so he was, if not into midfield that time, he was certainly into the back line of outfield players. And the chest control was very good. Maybe he'd like to take the free kick now. Is that a 6 or a 9? Could be Harks, could be Goulet. Herrera played into trouble, but solving his difficulties capably. Herrera. Ronaldo, no way forward. There's a lot of it going on out there. It's 9. The number being held up, which means that Brent Goulet will come off. Eric Eichmann will have a chance to show what he can do.
Eric Eichmann.
Substitution for the United States team. Coming out.
Well, there's just a bit of ill feeling simmering. And now there's a problem for Murray, who's been on the receiving end a couple of times recently and was looking to get in first that time. We've reached a stage in the game really where neither side is looking over-convincing in trying to find a route to goal. The defending at times being made easier by some poorish approach work. But international football is a little different in terms of the patience that's required. It's very hard to get the ball for long enough to be able to sustain pressure. There are very few mismatches these days at international level. And often matches are decided by one moment of inspiration or maybe an individual error. And that's the way this one is turning out to be. We've had goals really from two mistakes. The failure of Mendoza to play the offside trap, which allowed this fella, Eric Wijnaldum, to stride on and score for the United States early in the first half. And then Keller being called out by the referee. And that's not going to count, sadly, for the United States. It's offside. And I don't think there's too much doubt about it. Garcia. Fajardo. Well, the Americans looking to make their count really over the latter stages. They've got a free kick. Where the Americans have really struggled is getting enough players forward, really. They haven't been prepared to gamble too much. And the hard-working fronts have often been left to do it alone. Bob Ganser preferring to keep a good solid line across his midfield to protect the defenders. Really, in this sort of competition, might be a chance to just experiment a little bit tactically, especially at a stage like this where the game is very much there to be won, and it's really no great disgrace to lose. Pereira. Nicely steered forward by Mendoza to Fajardo. Oh, and he's got it back. Couldn't quite take it in his stride. And Keller able to come out and, with some relief, gather the ball up and hammer another of those clearances. But when the ball drops, look how far away the United States midfield players are, men. And that really always is likely to lead to the ball coming back on the Colombian side. Well, Fajardo comes off, and Uzuriaga, the great favourite with the Colombian fans because of that goal against Israel, gets another outing as a substitute, as he did in the first game. Tall and strong, operates mostly down the right-hand side. Headed on by Redin, and then Pereira. But Windishman reading the play well enough to steer the ball back to Keller. And Fajardo is now cast in the role of spectator. "20 minutes to go." And 1-1, as it has been now since midway through the first half. Stolmeyer, given away by Doyle. Ball back to Mendoza, and then Gomez. Hasn't been quite as in those buccaneering breaks down the side in the second half.
1990 World Cup in Italy this summer. Marlboro is giving away 5 trips.
It was a pretty honest challenge there between Eichmann and Koll. It's led to a free kick to the Americans, as they look to try and find the right pass and the right ball up to players like Murray to tilt the match their way. So buoyant for them with the goal after 3 minutes, and Colombia recovered pretty well from that. Goal. Not quite so much movement off the ball from Colombia at the moment. Mendoza. Oh, that was well played. It needed some strength and some skill from Guerrero. He still goes on, looking for Reddy. Square pass. Oh, and it's come through for Uzuriaga. Well, that's just shows that you can build neatly and try and be clever, and then one ricochet gives you the chance. But Keller did very well. He made himself look pretty big then to Uzuriaga. Didn't give the substitute much to aim at. So Casey Keller's made a couple of good saves in the second half to wipe out the mistake that led to the Colombian equaliser. Koll trying to keep the team ticking over in midfield. Very much a continuity player. Simple and straightforward. Quite happy to let Garcia play the pass. No one went to try and get the ball off him. And here is Wijnaldum. He can run. Oh, and he was looking to chip a goalkeeper who was coming out and didn't get the elevation. It looked a little tame at the end, but it was a clever idea. It's a difficult skill to chip the ball when it's running away from you. And the encouraging thing, and Wijnaldum should certainly be praised for it, that he's forceful running is still unsettling Colombia, and here he is on the ball again. He's done enough to suggest that he's not going to be a one-game wonder for the United States. Hux, who's been around a lot longer, but lost out now, and Colombia with players up. Doyle holds them at bay for a moment, and they survive after a mistake by John Hux. Redin. On from Gomez. Zuriaga was poised again. Windishman, who's equal in physique really to deal with his new immediate opponent, Zuriaga. Corner played short by Garcia. In from Herrera. Colombia hoping it on the far side.
Go foul!
Murray challenging Gomez. Pretty abruptly. Winalda, there's the target, but this time he's tried to do too much. Redin.
Go!
Ramos finding him left for once. 1-1, and the team's really locked here. But Colombia have a free kick. Not really to be taken from there, and now that's Eichmann, who presumably passed a comment. The referee Evangelista not standing for any nonsense, and it's going to be Restrepo, I think, who's coming on. Garcia, who substituted for him in the opening game. The roles are reversed here. Headed away by Doyle. Herrera. Well, if it was handball, it was ruled unintentional by Murray. Well, there haven't been too many strikes at goal over the match so far, and the enthusiasm of the spectators is a credit to them, particularly when the cameras come around. They're not shy and bashful in this part of the world, and that will all be part of the spectacle when the World Cup comes to town in 1994. The crowds, you might remember, for the Los Angeles Olympic Games football tournament were immense. Didn't really do a great deal for the future of football as a professional sport in the United States, but it just shows when the competition is a big one, you can expect the Americans to turn up and to cheer, even if they don't always cheer at the right places. Now this could be it for Colombia, and again Keller gets in the way at a crucial stage. He's had a very good second half, the 20-year-old goalkeeper. And this time it was Redin, and it was odds-on really a goal. Well played, Casey Keller. Restrepo given the responsibility of taking the free kick. Collard run a long way to remonstrate with the referee about where the wall should be allowed to stand. The header from Mendoza. The United States having to play on the break again. Alda, who's had the one real opportunity in the second half. The Americans, Colombia, have been better served in that respect, but they haven't made the incision the second time. Winalda halted by the linesman raising his flag. Possession thrown away by Herrera. So this match still very much in the melting pot. Murray. Guita, we've also noted the speed of his distribution as well. And Colombia using Guerrero's thrust and the other substitute, Restrepo. Or should I say another substitute. Constant changes from both sides really in the second half, which hasn't helped the total flow of the game, but I must remind you that the overall purpose here is perhaps even more important than winning the tournament or winning an individual match. It's another step really in building the right sort of teamwork for the more important conflicts ahead. Well, this is one of the heroes of the American team, Paul Caligiuri, who scored the goal in Trinidad to earn qualification after that 40-year gap. Hey, Guita came and didn't get there. Doyle was making a nuisance of himself. Well, I say he didn't get there as cleanly as perhaps he would have liked, although the ball did clear the penalty area. Herrera on the now. Good touch by Iguaran. And this is Guerrero. Oh, off the top of the bar with the ball not going in the net, although Windishman did enter. And that was the closest that Colombia have come. And Miguel Guerrero really has made an impact in the second half, very nearly crowning his contribution. Keller was nowhere near that one, and I'd be surprised if he even saw it. Windishman was just trying to run in behind the goalkeeper. If it came, maybe would have struck him if it had been a bit lower. Wijnaldum, and offside against Murray. Maturana's team really have had the greater opportunities quite significantly in the second half. Gomez. Caligiuri on for Stolmeyer. Paul Caligiuri, who playing as a professional in West Germany, hasn't always had the smoothest of relationships with the international setup, but he's definitely in the history books now. Herrera, back to him from Uzuriaga. Used up a bit of time that the Colombians didn't really want to cater for. They would like to settle this inside the regulation time. And really, they would feel that they deserve to do that, but not if they give the ball away, as Pereira did then. Harks. No, not the right angle on it, because the offside line meant that Wijnaldum on the far side had to come back away from the goal when the pass was inviting him to run towards it. Well, if it does go to penalty, Guita will be a central figure, obviously because he's one of the two goalkeepers, but also because he is Colombia's regular penalty taker. So one would expect to see him pretty early in the competition if it gets that far. I wonder whether taking penalties gives him an extra edge in terms of stopping them. Not too many goalkeepers understand the other side of the job. Here's goal. That's another stray one. Colombia going through a spell where their concentration has deserted them a little bit. It was Caligiuri who won the ball in the first place. Murray who lays it back here to Eichmann. They haven't really bypassed the offside trap except that one time when Maturana's team made a ghastly error of misunderstanding. And Alda took full advantage of it. Nikita's kick only goes straight to Caligiuri. Murray. No, it didn't work for Banks. Well, I just wonder now whether the players, having had quite an intensive workout over the past few days, are beginning to run out of steam and starting to accept the inevitability of the game being decided by a shootout. Mistake by Murray. Iguaran taken on for by Restrepo. Restrepo again. I'm sure the message to the watching international scouts and managers who are here is that it might be quite hard to get the ball off Colombia when they're at full strength, and particularly in hot conditions, which are expected in Italy, of course. That ability to keep possession might be very important. That's offside against Harks. Now there's little time left now. We're into the last 3 minutes. There's no extra time here. We go straight to penalties at the end of the second half, unless someone comes up to give a twist to the tail. Here's Gomez. Back by Cole. And Colombia starting to show signs of just using up the time. When you think of a couple of fine saves by Keller, the fact that Guerrero, the substitute, hit the top of the American crossbar. Not too many incidents like that at the other end. And Colombia need Keller to get in line again. And again it was Guerrero who was threatening to trouble him. The third game of 4 in this Marlboro Cup, the final to come. Uruguay against Costa Rica. Gomez. But the benefits of this international competition not judged purely on results. John Harks. Being told by the referee to get on with it. Again, well, the Americans have had plenty of practice in dealing with an offside ploy, but they haven't really been able to solve their difficulties. Too often players are making their runs a little too quickly, or they would probably argue that the ball is slow coming from midfield. Redin. Zuriaga is quick, but not that quick. Harks. Played wide by Ramos, who's just occasionally flitted into the picture. And look at them, 4 of them offside.
I mean, yeah, no.
Well, whether Colombia will play this way in the World Cup, only they will know, but if they do, they've given warning here to the teams that play against them. They're in the group with West Germany, Yugoslavia and the United Arab Emirates. Well, there's barely time now for Keller to get the ball too far upfield, one would think. The referee's had a look at his watch, and he's blown for the last time. We go to penalties at 1-1 after 90 minutes in the match for third place in the Marlboro Cup. No goals in the second half. The United States, who scored so early with that spectacular start from Eric Winalda, a moment he'll treasure. And the equaliser from the deflected shot by Fajardo. First to go in the penalty shootout, it is Higuita against Keller. Oh, off the inside of the post. 1-0 to Colombia. The way they score it here, they add it on to the goals in regulation time. So that goes down as 2-1. And Higuita has played a captain's part. So stepping forward now is Balboa for the United States. Normal FIFA rules here that it's 5 penalty takers each, of course, and then if it's level after that, then it'll be the sudden death. Now Higuita tries to stop one, and that sped past him. Most emphatic. So Balboa on target. Higuita reflects. Great chemistry between goalkeepers on these occasions. Aren't Sally figures really, but one save can make them a real hero. Now this is Suriaga for Colombia with the second of their penalties. On the post! Keller claims it as a triumph. I don't think he touched it. In fact, I'm sure he didn't. So, goes, for the moment, the way of the United States. And here comes the one player on the field who beat Higuita in normal play, Eric Winalda. He's had a good day so far, and it continues. That's right in the corner. So the United States front, and if they keep scoring now, they will take third place in this tournament. They would also hope that the Colombians might weaken again. Mendoza steps up and scores. Well, it's level, but the United States have taken one penalty less, and here comes Doyle, striding forward with a fair amount of confidence, maybe not shared by his coach. John Doyle from San Francisco. Well, it's a lengthy approach. Bit of eyeball to eyeball before he started his run, and Higuita certainly moved, but they're very lax referees, understandably so, in penalising that. Otherwise, I think we'd be here all night. and it doesn't have to be retaken. So ee.uu has kept Colombia level, and each side now has taken the amount of penalties, so there's no advantage. Guerrero played well when he came on for the second half. He always looked for goal, and I don't think you could say that about every player on the pitch. And he finds his target there, in keeping really with his performance. Confident, well struck, no chance for Keller. Colombia edge in front, and the responsibility passes now to Bruce Murray. This is a crucial stage now, and this could be very costly, but there's no miss from Murray. So each side have just failed the once. And there's one penalty taker apiece out of the chosen first 5 to go. Ready.
United States.
Remember, Casey Keller, just 20, and put in this situation. If you're a betting man, you bet on Redine, and you'd have won. With an effortless approach, really, and a very short one too. Here's Caligiuri, who looped in the goal in Trinidad that made him front page news in the United States. What sort of technique will he apply here? Well, it's hit hard and low, and so far in the corner that it's stuck.
Estados Unidos 5, Colombia 4.
Well, that's 5-5, and 4 of those per side from the penalty spot. And now it is the sudden death. If you go early in the first 5, there's slightly less responsibility, not that there is ever very much less in a penalty shootout, but at this stage there isn't much help around if you don't do your job. It's Restrepo, and mostly they're going to the goalkeeper's right, and mostly they're hitting the back of the net. So Colombia lead once more. And it must be that much harder to concentrate when you're taking on a goal who looks like ee.uu. He's certainly not anonymous. This is John Harkes. It's the same sort of technique that most of the players are employing here. Keep it low and go with the right foot, the natural way really, to the goalkeeper's right. So 6-6, and how much longer will it go on? Well, the coaches don't have to take the penalties, but we're getting through the outfield players, and of course it's only players that were on the field when the final whistle went who are eligible. This is Col for Colombia. Oh, and Keller was unlucky. He got solidly, it seemed, behind it, and then the ball just carried on over his left shoulder, really, and it is a goal. Tab Ramos spots it up. He's got to score to keep the United States in it, and he's done that. And with the Americans going second, of course they're is no rib if they fail at the crucial stage. That was a responsibility on Ramos, and he shouldered it well. Well, eventually, Colombia are summoning Higuaín, their top scorer of this current pack of players. But unusual perhaps that he didn't come earlier. Maybe he doesn't like taking penalties. We shall see. It's still level. And Colombia with the soft touch of Higuaín, who just rolled it into the corner, having wrong-footed Keller. Colombia lead again. So the next representative of Bob Gansler must score, otherwise Colombia collect third place. It's going to be the captain, Mike Windishman. Nervous look to the left. Is he up to the task? He is! Well, by my count, we've had 9 penalties aside, only 1 per team missed. So those who have taken them already may have to come again if we keep going. Now, hasn't taken one for the Americans yet, so he will have to oblige if it goes on. But for the moment, he must concentrate on trying to keep Pereira at bay. Now the goalkeeper's ready. A little bit of a delay with it. Pereira, no. Well, it was that little bit of deception there. Had the goalkeeper plunging too soon, and it went down in the middle of the goal really, but Keller had dived already out of the way and was committed. So the pattern is just the same. Colombia have been scoring, the Americans have been equalising. Eric Eichmann trying to keep that ring. A little look to see where Higuita is. Oh, that's a clever change of direction. Higuita was deceived that time, just as Keller was a few moments earlier. So Keller goes back in again. Looking for some divine help, perhaps. And the next candidate is the right back, Luis Fernando Herrera. The signal. Oh, he's missed it. Well, obviously it had to happen at some point, but we'd had such a run of success that it almost came as a surprise. So it's going to be Banks. Jimmy Banks can win it for the United States here. What's going through Higuita's mind? Is he just simply trying to out his opponent? There will be a great roar if this goes in. Oh, and it was a tame penalty really. The pressure got to Banks and Higuita got to the ball. So we still go on. And I think this means now that Keller must have to take the next penalty for the United States. But he's beaten first of all by Gomez. So it's 10-9. And it is Keller. Oh, he's hit the bar, and Colombia have got it. They finished third, and it was the young goalkeeper who couldn't beat that colourful character, his opposite number, and much more experienced. And we're after the drama of the penalty shootout that went on a good 15 minutes. Colombia finished third, the United States finished fourth. Goodbye from Miami at the end of a very eventful penalty shootout.